guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Katie. I'm a wedding photographer here in North Carolina, and today I wanted to just kind of go over the most frequently asked questions I get as a photographer and my responses and why I answered that way, etc. So we're gonna go into all of that in this video. As a wedding photographer, you probably get some clients or inquiries that are mostly the same question, so I kind of have a blanket response to the following questions. I do have 9 questions, and this is just how I respond to them, and I'm going to kind of give you the reasons why I respond this way. So the most common question I think most photographers get, maybe I'm speculating, I don't know, is do you send raw files? The quick answer is no. So I don't think people really understand what raw files means. Raw is just like the name of the file. It's a huge file. It's like JPEG, PNG, RAW. Like that's what it is. But what people really mean is unedited. Do you send unedited photos? Can we have unedited versions of the photos? And the reason I say no, I have a reason, and I say it nicer, I don't just say no. If you're booking with me for your wedding, the finished product is my entire process to get to your final image. So it starts with your wedding day, me taking those photos, me editing, retouching, touching up, the whole process that I do to give you the final edited photo. That is my end product. That is the final result. That is why you booked with me. So if I send people unedited versions of my photos or your photos, if I send unedited versions and they edit how they want, then my style and the finished product is portrayed as different. It's not a good representation of the photography that I do. It's not a good representation of my work. So that's why I don't send unedited photos. It's in my contract, as well as, you're not allowed to put a filter on my photo. You're not allowed to edit my photos further because it's not a good representation of my work. So if somebody's looking to book with me and they see the photo that you put a filter on that looks nothing like the photo that I've done and they hate it, they're not going to want to book with me. I always say, I don't give out raw files, the end product. What I just said, it kind of goes through my whole editing, that's all my style, and then I give you the final product. And most of the time people say okay, but if they have a different style in mind and they don't like the way that I edit photos, then I refer them to somebody else because I'm not going to make them happy. And that means we're not a good fit. If I don't edit or photograph in the style that you want, I'm doing you a disservice of being your photographer. I'm not going to make you happy. I can refer you to somebody who is within your style and could really make you happy and make you love your photos. So that is why I don't give out raw files, and that's why I say no to clients or couples who ask for them. This is a question that I get asked a lot less now than I ever have, but we don't want an engagement session, can we get a discount? And the reason it's framed this way is because my package, when I used to have 3 separate packages for my weddings, I had a 6-hour package, an 8-hour package, and a 10-hour package. The 8 and 10 hours came with a complimentary engagement session, and the 6-hour didn't. But I would get people say, we want the 8 hours or the 10 hours, but we don't want the engagement session, so can we get a discount on those packages? And I would say no, because the engagement session is complimentary. It's not like an add-on, you know what I mean? It's complimentary, kind of use it or lose it, and sometimes, we can work around it. I've gotten that question less recently since moving to one base package, and I know you're not supposed to call them packages, you're supposed to call them collections, because an artist has a collection. FedEx delivers packages, you're supposed to, fancy schmancy, whatever. For this video, I'm just gonna say package because I can't think of another word. So now I just have a base package that is 8 hours, 1 photographer, complimentary engagement session, and then I think you get a canvas, a digital link, whatever. And I did it this way because with the 3 packages, no one was booking my Sorry, I'm getting text messages. No one was booking my 6-hour package. Everyone was 8 or 10. And honestly, I primarily shoot solo, like it's just me vibing out there. Having a 6-hour package is honestly not that smart for me because 8 hours is where I thrive. It's the perfect amount of time, in my opinion, for me to get everything done and really tell the story. That's not really what the question is about. We don't want an engagement session, can we get a discount? I get it less now because it's that base package and I say complimentary engagement session included, like there's words that you can like frame it, but I do try to tell my couple, like, unfortunately, no, you can't get a discount because it's complimentary, but I highly suggest that you take advantage of this engagement session because you get to meet me, I get to meet you, we get to go over posing, we get to vibe, we get to have a connection, because going into wedding day, I want to be your best friend. Like, that's kind of my thought behind all of this, is I want to be your best friend. I want you to trust me, that I know what I'm doing, that I have your best interest in mind, that you're going to get beautiful photos. Like, I want you to trust me and listen to me, and I can't necessarily do that as well if we don't meet before. Now, I also think it's important to have an engagement session because let's say we have a whole engagement session, I give them their photos and they hate them. Like, they absolutely hate my photography style, my editing, whatever. Now they have the opportunity to go find somebody else that will make them happy. Like, I'm sad to see them go. I truly am. I don't like to do that, but you need to be happy with your photos, and I totally understand that. So I always say, no, you can't get a discount if you don't use your complimentary engagement session. I kind of educate them why I think engagement sessions are really important, and then we can kind of move on from there. Sometimes I'll have them, like, they will ask, can I switch out an engagement session for a bridal session? I'm okay with doing that. Maybe you're not, I am, but you gotta figure out you know, what you're comfortable giving up. Sometimes photographers will translate that to additional coverage on wedding day. I don't do that because I really want to do that engagement session or have some sort of interaction with them in a photography setting before their wedding day. But that's just me. So, can we get a discount if we don't use our engagement session? No, sorry, I don't do that. This is a question that I've been asked more recently, is what is the benefit of adding a second photographer or second shooter to the package? And that's kind of a hard question, but it's also easy. That didn't make any sense. The benefit, and this is what I say, yes, you get more photos because that's usually what they ask. What's the benefit? Just more photos at the end of the day? Yes, you get more photos in your package if you have another photographer there, at least with me. But the biggest part is you get more moments captured. And for me, my style of photography is I like to tell a story. I don't want to just be there and like take a couple shots here and there. Like, I want you to go through your gallery and it like is like a story, like the details and the getting ready and like the guys getting ready, the girls getting ready, a first look, like whatever it is, like I want it to feel like a story and not just, oh, here's like a bunch of posed pictures or here's you walking down the aisle, like that's it. I want to evoke emotion and that, I don't know, it's just storytelling. That's what I want to do. I want it to be artistic and romantic and like fun. That's just my vibe, right? So I can do that myself, of course, but when you have a second photographer photographing at different angles, you get more of the story. So I think the best way I can relay it is, let's say, you know, you're saying your vows to each other, you're saying your vows to your future spouse, and I can be on one side getting you saying your vows, and my second can be on the other side getting their reaction to your vows. And instead of me just kind of like running back and forth, you can just get different angles and different moments. My seconds sometimes capture different moments than I do, and vice versa. So I just think the benefit of having a second photographer are, yeah, more pictures, but also you get more moments and more of the story throughout the day. You're only getting married once, hopefully. So you want as many photos as you can of this day because that's what you're gonna walk away with. You're gonna walk away with your photos and your videos, right? So I think if you can swing a second photographer, like if that's in your budget, I highly suggest you do that. But obviously it's up to you. I'm not here, like, live your life. But that's what I say as the benefit of having a second photographer. Another question I get a lot is how many photos do we get in like the whole gallery? And this is my response. You can typically expect around 50 to 75 images per hour of coverage. So let's see what math would say. I'm not good at head math. So if we do 75 photos for 8 hours of coverage, that is 600 photos, okay? And that's on the higher end, right? 50 to 75. You could just choose a number. Some people would even say you get 100 images per hour of coverage. Like, it's up to you. I say 50 to 75 because I know I will always over deliver. Usually with my 8 hours of coverage, I give well over 600 photos, like probably 700 or 800, honestly. I'm an overshooter. I know I am, but I just like to give the most variety to people. So I always over deliver, and that is something so important. Under promise, over deliver. So if I say you're getting 75 photos per hour of coverage, so that would be $600 for 8 hours, or 600 photos for 8 hours of coverage, and I only deliver you 500, like, there is let down in that. You could even say, you know, you get 50 photos per hour of coverage and then deliver 75 or 100 or whatever you want to do. But that's what I say, around 50 to 75. I think that's about the average photos per hour of coverage. If you get a second photographer, I just say you get more. I don't give specifics because I don't know how many duplicates there will be. That's just what I say. Can we see a full wedding gallery before booking? This has become, I think, more and more common that people really want to see your work before they book with you, and your website, your Instagram, your TikTok, it's not enough anymore. So I've had a couple of people ask if they can see full galleries. And I used to pull in a separate sample gallery for people, but I no longer do that because ShootProof, which is what I use for my client photo delivery software program, ShootProof offers vendor galleries, so you can pull all the images from a wedding day into its own album within that wedding gallery. The couple doesn't see it, you set it as a vendor account, and then you can make sure that nobody can download the photos and they can view them, and you can pull all of the photos that you really want to showcase in that album. And for me, I take my clients' privacy pretty seriously, so I'm not gonna put in every single photo in this. I'm not gonna put in all their family formals. If there's children, I'm not gonna pull in children. I don't pull in like people dancing at the reception. It's just not something that I want to share with strangers. Like, they don't know them. Like, I take their privacy seriously. I will just add in more detail shots, maybe like the full portrait session of the bride and groom and the bridal party, but I won't share every single photo with a couple, but I do let them see it. And that's fine. Like, people want to make sure that they're going to love their photos, so I totally understand. But, you know, that's what I do. I do a vendor gallery. I share it with them. And then, especially if they don't end up booking with me, I will, like, revoke their access because it's weird. Like, I don't want people viewing somebody's wedding. I don't know. This is a question that I don't like. I don't like this question. Can you Photoshop my photos? And it's usually, like, the day of a wedding, and they're like, oh, you can just Photoshop that out, right? You can just Photoshop that. You can Photoshop this person in, or like, you can Photoshop my face to be smiling, right? No, I cannot. The only time I've really had a moment where I had to like find somebody to do it was a bride contacted me and said, you know, I think it was like her great aunt had like stage 4 cancer. She didn't think she was going to be able to come to the wedding. Like, could you Photoshop her in? And what I say to that is absolutely, but I personally cannot. It won't look good if I do it. So I said that I would have to find somebody to Photoshop, and there would be an associated fee along with that. I'm open and honest. I just hate the assumption when you're at like any photo shoot, wedding day or not, people are always like, can you just Photoshop that? Can you just Photoshop it? Can you? No, it's not gonna look good. And I've had even other vendors, like, I remember we were taking family formals in front of like the little arch where they get married. I'm not gonna terminology. The little arch where they get married, and they had the microphone hanging down. And I was like, it was about to rain, so I was just, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Flying through those family formals in front of that arch. And the guy, I don't know if it was the DJ, I forget who it was, but it was somebody who was working the wedding, came over and was like, oh, I'm gonna save you a whole lot of photoshopping, and like took the microphone and like walked away, and I was like, oh, thank you. And in my mind, I was okay, like, I don't Photoshop everything. Lightroom does allow you to do a lot of stuff, so with something like that, I'll just like, you know, do the little healing tool and blend it in to the flowers or like the sky behind it. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's just, I don't like the assumption that you're a photographer and you edit photos, that you're a Photoshop pro and you can just Photoshop whoever in a photo, or when they ask you, oh, can you just slim me down? And they make it as a joke and you're like, I don't do that. Like, you're beautiful the way you are. So if somebody seriously asks me to Photoshop any of their photos, I say that I'll have to find somebody else and there'll be associated fee with that, so I can't really give you a price estimate, because now I have to go find somebody and source them and go back and forth, make sure the picture looks right, like it's a whole thing. So yes, there will be an additional fee for any additional editing. How long will it take for me to receive my full gallery? Great question, thank you so much for asking. So I get this question not super duper often because I do have it on my website and I usually communicate it with my couple, but for about an 8-hour wedding day, I say you can expect your photos in 4 to 6 weeks. I give that range. For a 2-hour bridal or engagement session, I say about 2 to 4 weeks. Like, I've never not given the photos in that time. Did that make sense? I don't know. So usually my goal is to get them at that 4 weeks. Sometimes it will take me 4 weeks depending on how busy I am, how many photo shoots I have. It'll take me the full 4 weeks, but I still have that 2-week buffer. But most of the time, like, I'll get it in before the 4-week mark. That's just like a personal goal. Same with like engagement or bridals. It usually takes me about a week depending on how busy I am. But another reason why you should under promise and over deliver. So if I tell a couple for your engagement session, it will take me a week to edit and you'll receive your full gallery in a week, which it normally does, but I give it to them a week and a half because I have a lot of photo shoots and a lot of going on. That's late to them. Like, their perception is, we did not get our photos on time. She said a week and it's a week and a half. But if I said that I normally will deliver in 2 weeks, like you'll get it within 2 weeks, or by 2 weeks, whatever words you want to use, and I give it a week and a half, well, now I'm early, and their perception is, wow, she got our photos to us early. So it's all about their perception, under promise, over deliver, and you're going more above and beyond for them anyway, and their perception is that you're going above and beyond for them. And for me, I don't want to feel rushed to like finish editing photos like really, really quickly. I want to make sure I take my time and get the photos exactly how I want them. So I give myself enough time, like for a full wedding gallery, 4 to 6 weeks, like that gives me a full month of editing these photos. And I usually edit it under that, but it doesn't hurt to give yourself enough time. Okay, some questions that I get sometimes is what gear I use, and I find this an interesting question because I don't know if people really care. I don't know why they're asking it more and more now, but here we are. I don't know why they've been asking that, so usually I'll just start off and say I shoot on Nikon, and that's enough. But unless they're like a photographer, or like for me, I would want to know what kind of gear somebody uses, and they've asked like, oh, do you shoot on mirrorless? Do you shoot on DSLR? Like, what lenses do you use? I don't mind telling them what I do. I just think it's a funny question that people are asking more and more now. Maybe people are getting more educated on cameras. I don't know, or like their relative is a photographer, so they know. I don't know. But usually I just say, oh, I'm a Nikon gal, and then we're good to go. Oh, this is a fun question. I don't like this question either. Can my relative be your second shooter or shadow you on wedding day? This is a fun question because the answer, spoiler alert, is no. And I want to tell you why. So in my contract, I always say, I'm the only photographer for this event. any photographer at the event must be contracted through me. And I have like a little bit of a network of second photographers that I use. So I'm not necessarily opposed if the relative is good. I don't know, it would be case by case, but usually I just say, oh no, like there can't be any additional photographers, because usually the people who are asking, oh, can they be the second or can they shadow you? It's usually, most of the time, not all the time, but usually people who are trying to build their portfolio, and wedding day is not the time to teach somebody photography. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. I'm not meaning to come across as mean or heartless or anything. I've had somebody reach out to me who's like, I think I want to get into photography, but I'm not sure. Can I shadow you on a wedding? And I just said, like, unfortunately, no, I don't do that, because weddings move so quickly and I have a system, and I don't want somebody like asking me questions, like, and I don't want to have to worry about teaching somebody else that day. I don't know, is that an unpopular opinion? Am I mean? Like, I'm definitely all for helping people, but usually it's somebody trying to build their portfolio, and just wedding day is not the time to teach. Like, go to a styled shoot maybe, or like a bridal session, sure, like that would be an okay time, an engagement session, that's fine, but wedding days are like, there's no redoing this, okay? There is no do-over for this wedding day, okay? So I usually say no. Also, there are some instances, some venues that require insurance or permits or whatever, or like an actual business name, not just like, oh, your aunt bought a camera and she wants to like come shoot the wedding with me. And if I have like a second photographer that I contract out, I can get the proper permits, I can make sure they're insured. Like, there's a whole other behind the scenes thing. But I will say, in my contract, super important to have that you can be the only photographer that day, because I've been at a wedding where their godparent, I believe, like somebody who's important, like important as a godparent or like a family member, brought their like whole camera, and they stood in my way like the entire time. I got to work around it, but because it's in my contract, I could have had a conversation with them and legally been able to say, hey, I'm the only photographer at this event, like you're not allowed to take photos, sorry. I have like backing to do that, or I could talk to the bride and groom and say, hey, you signed a contract that I'm the only photographer for this event, please talk to them. Like, I have something to stand on, not like, you're in my shot, get out of the way. Like, it's in my contract. So I definitely recommend heavily to have that kind of clause in your contracts. And if you're fine with the bride's sister being your second photographer, that's up to you. I'm just saying, in my personal experience, I say no because I have people that I use as a second, and I don't want to have any kind of conflict of interest. And yeah, it's usually people building their portfolio, not like established photographers. Oh, I do have another story. My first wedding I ever did, the sister-in-law of the groom is a photographer. Like, she's really amazing. I follow her on Instagram, and she asked the bride to ask me if she could take a portrait of them for like as a wedding present, and I was like, yeah, that's fine, I don't care with like that. I mean, obviously she's not gonna hijack the entire like photo session. So there are instances where I'm like, I'm okay with certain things, but you do have to make sure you have a line. And if somebody crosses that line, like if she came in and like started taking over as the photographer, I would have to say, okay, that line was crossed, and I would need to stand up for myself. So you just have to figure out what line is where for you. For me, relative as a second photographer, a relative shadowing me is just not something that I want to have to also worry about on your wedding day, so I just kind of say no. But, you know, it could be a case-by-case basis. Who knows? But I'm just telling you, that is my typical answer. I have been asked more often how many weddings that I've done, like how many weddings have you photographed? And honestly, I can't think of it. So usually I just give the stats from the year prior. That helps me. So I'll be like, oh, I photographed, 12 weddings in 2021. I think it was 12, it might have been 10. But something like that. Like, oh, I photographed just 12 in 2021, so at least as many as that. And usually that's okay. But I would also say if you haven't photographed that many and somebody asks you, be honest. Don't fake it till you make it. Like, just be honest with them. If you haven't photographed that many, you haven't photographed that many. Like, they should know that before booking with you. I'm not into like hiding behind things or like twisting words. Honestly, I don't want to sit there and count all the weddings that I've ever done, so I just go by the year prior. That's really why, because I do think eventually, if you're like a really established photographer or you've done a lot, you don't want to sit there and count all of them. You're gonna be like, last year I did 25 weddings, so, and I've been in the business for 4 years, so at least as many as that. Like, I've done a lot. Maybe you have a running tally of all the weddings that you've done. I don't. So that's how I answer that question. I just refer to the year prior and say at least that many. And that's basically like my top 10 frequently and most are the same word, they're synonyms. It's like my top 10 frequently asked questions, the questions that I get most often from clients. So I hope this was helpful. I hope my responses were helpful. My reasoning behind my responses were helpful. Hopefully I made sense in this video. If you have any other questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Like, let's chit chat, let's start a conversation, let's help each other. If you have different answers than I do, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!